Welcome to Midnight Affairs Tales, where secrets don't sleep. Tell us where you're watching from, then buckle up. And most important, never forget to subscribe to our channel. Starts now. The sound was so soft at first, he almost didn't hear it. Knock. Knock. Just two quick taps, no urgency, no anger. But they split the quiet like a rifle shot. Staff Sergeant Cole Jennings, 34, stood at the kitchen counter with a half-empty mug of black coffee going cold in his hand. The house was still too still. He stared out the window above the sink, his sharp blue eyes catching the late afternoon light. The street outside was washed in summer haze, lawn sprinklers hissing in the distance. A dog barked 3 houses down. Normal. Nothing felt normal anymore. The knocks came again. Firmer this time. Knock. Knock. Cole set the mug down without drinking. The ceramic touched the counter just a little too hard, not enough to shatter, but enough to echo. He knew before he opened the door. Footsteps padded across the carpet behind him. Little feet. He turned, and there she was. Ava, 8 years old. Wide brown eyes. Long hair the same color as her mother's, tied into a crooked braid he'd done himself that morning. She wore a faded pink hoodie, even though it was 82 degrees out. That bear, the one he gave her the night before his last deployment, was tucked tight under one arm. Its ear was chewed up, its stitching loose, but she wouldn't let it go. She stopped halfway down the hall, eyes flicking to the door. Daddy. He nodded once. Stay here. Cole opened the door. 2 men stood outside. One in a gray button-down with a badge clipped to his belt. The other in a polo shirt holding a clipboard. Civilian clothes, but the vibe? Pure authority. Staff Sergeant Jennings, the one with the badge, asked. Yes. We're here to serve a temporary emergency custody order. Issued this morning by County Judge Allison Myers. Cole didn't say a word. Just looked at the paper the man handed him. The letters were clear. Legal. Cold. Temporary custody revocation. Grounds. Alleged domestic instability. Pending investigation. His ex-wife's name was on the complaint. And his. And Ava's. His stomach dropped. He scanned the document again, like maybe he'd read it wrong. He hadn't. No criminal charges. No incident listed. Just concerns over emotional volatility, PTSD, and prior service-related aggression. He wasn't just being accused. He was being erased. And from his daughter's life. Effective immediately, the man added. You can't take your daughter off this property or be alone with her. You'll be contacted by Child Services for a formal hearing. If you violate this order, you could face felony custodial interference charges. You understand? Cole's jaw clenched. His hands stayed at his sides. He nodded once. No eye contact. Just enough acknowledgement to make it clear. He wasn't going to resist. Behind him, Ava peeked around the doorframe. The man noticed. We'll need her to come outside. We're going to place her with her mother until the hearing. Cole turned and walked back into the house. Each step felt heavier than his combat boots ever had. Ava backed up slightly, her grip on the bear tightening. He crouched in front of her. Voice low. Measured. Sweetheart. You're going with the officers now. You'll stay with Mom for a little bit. Her mouth opened like she was about to ask a question, then shut again. She nodded. Brave. Always brave. Cole tried to smile. Bear's coming too, all right? She nodded again. And then something shifted. Her eyes welled. Not tears, not yet. Just fear. Real fear. I didn't tell them anything, she whispered. I swear. That stopped him. His hand gently touched her cheek. I know, baby. I know. Outside, she walked with the 2 men, one on either side. Cole stayed in the doorway, arms crossed over his chest. He didn't move. Didn't blink. He just watched as they helped her into the back of a sedan and drove off without sirens. The street went quiet again. The same sprinkler still hissed in the distance. The same dog barked. Normal. But inside him, nothing was. He shut the door. That night, Cole sat alone at the kitchen table. The only light came from the overhead bulb, the kind that hums just loud enough to make the silence feel louder. His hands were flat on the table. His uniform still hung on the chair nearby, the medals aligned perfectly across his chest plate. A bronze star, 2 Purple Hearts, Afghanistan ribbon. Iraq. None of it mattered now. Not in that courtroom. Not in that house across town where Ava was sleeping with her bear tucked under her arm. He picked up his phone and opened his camera roll. There she was, smiling on his shoulders at a county fair, wearing face paint, that goofy grin she always had after a snow cone. He'd taken the photo himself. He stared at it for a long time. Then his thumb moved, but not to delete. To save. Backup. Locked folder. Just in case. 3 days passed. No contact. No updates. He wasn't allowed to call. The court order made that clear. So he waited. And on the 4th day, his phone finally rang. Unknown number. He answered anyway. Mr. Jennings? A woman's voice asked. Polite. Official. This is Camille Thomas from the Department of Family Services. I'm calling to inform you that a supervised visitation hearing has been scheduled for next Thursday. That soon, he said. There was a pause. Yes. Your daughter's teacher made a secondary report. It was flagged. There were physical concerns. What kind of concerns? He asked, voice tight. I can't share that yet, but it will be part of the hearing record. Your ex-wife is filed for full custody. But given the new report, the judge is open to temporary shared arrangements, pending further review. He hung up after confirming the time. His hands were shaking not from rage, from restraint. Something had happened, and someone was covering it. Later that night, Cole unlocked the storage box in his garage. It was all still there. Deployment gear, backup drives, flashlights, tactical files, and something else, a small GoPro. Dusty, scratched, but functional. He stared at it for a long moment. Then slowly he smiled. Just slightly. Not because of the camera, but because he remembered. He never told Ava to put it away. Not once. Not even when she played with it like a toy months ago. She'd asked what it was. He'd said it was like a robot eye that remembers everything. She'd smiled and nodded. The next part of the story doesn't happen in his house or the courtroom. It happens somewhere quieter. Ava's room, where a bear sits propped on the bed. And behind its little glass eye, something is watching. Something already recorded. The courtroom smelled like old wood, paper, and disinfectant. Cole sat alone at the defendant's table, back straight, jaw set, eyes forward, the same posture he held during inspections, funerals, and firefights. His uniform was perfect, pressed to regulation. The crease in his trousers could cut glass. The ribbons on his chest told a story, except today, they didn't mean a damn thing. Not here. Here, they were evidence. Across from him, in a tailored blue blazer, sat Marissa, his ex-wife. Early 30s. Blonde. Sharp. The same woman who once sent him handwritten letters overseas now stared ahead like she didn't recognize the man across from her. Her nails tapped her thigh, methodical and anxious. Her attorney, a man named Gerald Pike with 2 white teeth and a smug little watch, whispered something into her ear. She didn't smile. She didn't look over. Cole didn't either. But he could feel the judge studying him. Judge Allison Myers was known for being strict, especially in family court. Mid-50s. No nonsense. She didn't blink much, just watched. Her gaze hovered over Cole's medals longer than he liked. It was the first time he'd worn the full uniform into court. Not out of pride, out of purpose. This was who he was. Not what they were saying. Not what the custody report claimed. Too violent. Too unpredictable. Possible combat trauma. He hadn't even raised his voice in front of Ava. Not once. But none of that mattered now. The paperwork spoke louder than he could. Let's begin, Judge Myers said, her voice clipped, already tired. Gerald Pike rose, buttoned his jacket like he was preparing for a movie role, and began. Your Honor, we are here today because my client, Mrs. Marissa Jennings, has presented evidence and credible concern for the welfare of her daughter, Ava Jennings, under the sole care of her father, Mr. Cole Jennings. He gestured toward Cole without even glancing at him. My client has documented instances of emotional volatility, erratic behavior, and concerning patterns of aggression rooted in Mr. Jennings' military background and post-deployment struggles. While we respect and thank him for his service, we do not believe that excuses endangering a child. Cole didn't flinch, but behind his eyes, something twisted, tightened. He wasn't surprised by the strategy. They'd been married during 2 tours. She knew exactly what buttons to press. She knew how to weaponize his silence. He didn't argue during the divorce. Gave her the house. Took the apartment. Took Ava every weekend without a word. Never once said a bad thing about her to their daughter. This was his thanks. Pike sat down, smug and smooth. Judge Myers turned to Cole. "Do you have representation today, Mr. Jennings?" "No, ma'am," Cole said, calm and even. "I'll speak for myself." She nodded. "Proceed." He stood. "I've never been arrested. Never been violent toward my daughter. I'm not perfect, but I'm a damn good father." The word hung heavy. Damn. In court. It wasn't out of anger. It was out of pain. She's my life. She's the only thing that got me through the last deployment. I've done everything I can to give her stability. He paused. My record is clean. My home is safe. If there's anything wrong, I want to know. I want to fix it. But I won't accept losing her based on things that didn't happen. He sat. No grandstanding. Just the truth. The judge scribbled something down. Her expression didn't change. An officer from CPS took the stand. Then Ava's school counselor. Both mentioned emotional concern, withdrawal, inconsistent stories. But no bruises. No incidents. No direct claims against Cole. Then Marissa took the stand. She dabbed her eyes before she even started speaking. "Cole wasn't abusive to me," she began. "Not directly. But he has moments. He goes blank. He gets cold. Like he's somewhere else." Her voice trembled, but rehearsed. Controlled. I'd come home and find him just sitting there in the dark. Wouldn't say a word. Once, Ava dropped a glass and he flinched like someone fired a gun. He grabbed her wrist before realizing who she was. That part wasn't true. Cole clenched his fists beneath the table, not to intimidate, but to feel something solid. Real. The cool sweat on his palms was the only anchor. "He's not a bad man," Marissa said, lowering her voice. "He's just damaged." The word landed like a slap. When she stepped down, Cole didn't look at her. Not once. He didn't need to. Because from the corner of his eye, something caught his attention. The door at the back of the courtroom opened quietly, and Ava walked in. With a caseworker. Small. Still in that pink hoodie. Her bear was missing. Cole's heart nearly stopped. She looked around. Saw him. Her face lit up for just a second. That smile she always saved just for him. But then she saw her mother, and it vanished. She sat in the back quietly, feet not even touching the floor. Judge Myers noticed her too. "I wasn't told the child would be present," she said. The caseworker requested she observe the hearing. The court clerk replied. She insisted. Cole couldn't believe it. Ava wanted to be here. The judge looked at the clock. "We'll resume this hearing Thursday morning," she said. "I want Ava interviewed again. In my chambers. Privately." Bang of the gavel. It was over. For now. Cole stood and turned, expecting to see Ava come rushing toward him. But she didn't. She stood still, right by the door. The caseworker whispered something, but Ava just kept staring at her dad. Not scared. Not sad. Just watching. And then she mouthed something. "I still have it." Cole's blood turned to ice. He didn't nod. Didn't blink. But in that moment, he knew exactly what she meant. The GoPro. The footage. She still had it. She'd hidden it. And she was waiting for the right moment. Outside the courthouse, Cole didn't go home. He drove to the spot he always went when things didn't make sense, the old park near the base. The one with the broken swings and the chipped jungle gym where Ava used to play when she was 4. He sat on the bench and let the silence settle in. Behind him, the wind rustled the trees. Ahead, the sun dipped low, turning the sky orange. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Just 2 words. "I'm ready." No name. But he knew. It was Ava. And the moment was coming. Cole Jennings had never known his own father. Not really. Just a faded photograph. A pair of boots he wasn't old enough to fill. A folded flag his mother never opened up about. The man had died in Kuwait before Cole could speak his first word. So when Ava was born, He made himself a promise, a private, sacred one. She would know him. She would know his hands, how they held her steady on a bike, how they never let go on a stormy night, how they braided her hair even when the strands slipped through his rough fingers like smoke. Those hands had pulled wounded soldiers out of burning trucks, built bunkers in Kandahar sand, dug trenches under sniper fire. They'd done things no child should know about, but they'd never hurt her. The morning of the second hearing, Cole stood in the mirror adjusting his collar. No uniform today. The judge had seen enough medals, enough ribbons. Today, he wore a plain gray suit, clean lines, no distractions. A faded photo of Ava was folded in his pocket. He didn't need to look at it. He just needed to feel it there. At 8:46 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number again. A single photo this time. The image was grainy, pulled from security cam footage. Ava, visible in the corner, standing near a living room doorway. Arms crossed. Her mother's boyfriend loomed nearby, shoulders tense, hand raised. Cole's heart stuttered. No timestamp, no caption, but that wasn't what mattered. Ava wasn't the one sending it. Someone else was. He arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early and sat in his truck, hands on the wheel, engine off. A bead of sweat slid down the back of his neck despite the AC. He could feel something shifting, the way a Marine senses when a mission's gone sideways, but command hasn't caught up yet. Inside, he walked through metal detectors and nodded to the same guard from last week. She gave him a tired smile. "Good luck today, Sergeant." "Thanks," he said. She probably had no idea who to root for. No one ever does in custody court. There are no winners, just less broken losers. Courtroom 3B was smaller today, quieter, fewer people. But Ava was already there, sitting in a corner chair, legs swinging, holding her bear again. Her hoodie was gone. She wore a yellow dress with little sunflowers. Her hair was brushed but flat, no braid. She looked at him when he walked in. Their eyes locked. She gave a slow, single nod, the kind a soldier gives from cover when it's clear to move. Judge Myers entered. No robe today, just a dark blue blouse and reading glasses. This wasn't a trial, just a decision. "Mr. Jennings." "Mrs. Jennings," she said, nodding at them both. "Let's keep this brief." Marissa sat with perfect posture, ankles crossed, hands folded. Her lawyer had ditched the smug watch today, but still wore a victory smile. Cole said nothing. The judge looked at Ava, then back down at her papers. "I've reviewed the interview conducted yesterday in my chambers. I've also reviewed the supplemental documentation submitted late last night by the Department of Family Services." Cole stiffened. He didn't submit anything. Marissa turned, eyes narrowing. "What documentation?" her attorney asked. Judge Myers adjusted her glasses. "I'm not at liberty to disclose the source at this time, but I've seen enough to warrant the following." She looked up, not at Marissa, at Cole, and for the first time, her expression softened. "Temporary shared custody is approved." Marissa gasped. Pike jumped up. "Your Honor, we weren't given time to—" "You can file a motion," she said flatly. "But my ruling stands." Cole didn't move, didn't breathe. He wasn't the cheering type. He just turned, very slowly, toward Ava. She was smiling now, just a little. Not wide. Just enough for him to know she felt it too. Later that afternoon, outside the courthouse, they met on the steps. The caseworker held Ava's hand but gave her a gentle nudge forward. Cole crouched. She ran to him without a word, arms around his neck. No sobbing, no fanfare, just a quiet, deep hug. She whispered something into his collar. "I didn't delete it." They sat in the truck for a while, parked on a side street near a gas station. Ava pulled out her backpack. From the front pocket, wrapped in a sock, came the old GoPro. Cole took it gently. He turned it over in his hands, checking the battery, the SD slot. It still worked. Ava leaned against him. "I put it on the shelf in my closet," she said softly, facing the hallway. "I pressed record every time Mommy left me alone with him." Cole didn't ask questions. Didn't need to. She'd already seen too much. "I didn't want to tell anyone," she added. "He said if I did, he'd hurt Bear." Cole's throat tightened. He touched her hair. "They're safe," he said. "So are you." Back at his apartment, Cole uploaded the footage onto his encrypted drive. Hours of video. Some showed nothing but shadows. Boring, silent scenes. But one file, one time-stamped clip, showed everything. The boyfriend. Screaming. Throwing a glass. Pounding the wall near Ava's room. And then Ava sitting on her bed, quietly turning the bear toward the camera. As if she knew someone would need to see. He hit pause. And stared. Not at the man. At his daughter's face. Steady. Not afraid. Prepared. Cole made 3 backup copies. One on a USB. One on a cloud server. One on a hidden drive he learned to build back in Intel briefings. This wasn't about revenge. This was about proof. He didn't want to hurt Ava's mother. He just wanted his daughter safe. The next morning, he made an appointment with the school counselor. Ava handed over the original GoPro herself. No drama. Just resolution. At 7:42 p.m., Marissa called him. He didn't answer. Then she texted, "What the hell did you give the court?" He replied with one sentence. "You should ask your boyfriend." By the time night fell, Cole was back at the park again. The one with the swings. Ava sat next to him, feet dragging in the gravel. They didn't speak much. Didn't need to. But as the wind picked up, she asked something without looking up. "Do people still love you after they're scared of you?" He blinked, turned, kneeled down to her level. His voice cracked, just slightly. "If they really love you," he said, "they're never scared of you. They're scared for you." She nodded like she understood, then looked out at the darkening sky. "Good," she whispered. "Because I'm not scared of you, Daddy. Not even a little bit." The first bruise was on Ava's forearm. Faint. Small. The size of a thumbprint, right below the elbow. Cole noticed it during their first court-approved supervised visit. Ava wore a t-shirt with sunflowers on it, but the mark stood out, a smudge of purple and yellow, fresh enough to still sting. He didn't ask right away. He just looked. She noticed his eyes, and her arm, and she pulled the sleeve down, slow and silent, like she'd done it a dozen times before. Cole kept his voice steady. Measured. "Did you fall?" Ava didn't lie, but she didn't answer either. She just looked past him, toward the corner of the visitation room where a tired-looking caseworker sat tapping on her iPad. Cole didn't press. He knew better. You don't win trust by squeezing it. You wait. You hold the line. You give space and hope they walk into it when they're ready. But the second he got back in his truck, the steering wheel cracked beneath his grip. 2 days later, he followed her mother's car. He hadn't done anything like that in years, not since reconnaissance patrols downrange, where every corner could hide a trigger man. Now he was just a father in a dusty pickup, trying not to lose sight of a silver Toyota Corolla as it turned into a cul-de-sac he used to call home. He parked 2 streets over and walked the rest of the way. It was late, just past 9 p.m. The neighborhood was quiet, lawn sprinklers hissing under porch lights. A flag flapped on a pole near the Jennings' old front step. He used to raise that flag every morning with Ava before school. She'd hum the anthem, never quite on key. From behind a tree, Cole saw it all. The boyfriend's truck. Big. Black. Loud. A lifted F-150 with peeling Punisher decals and a front bumper held on with duct tape. Cole memorized the license plate. Then the frame damage. Then the tires. He waited 30 minutes. And then, from a window on the second floor, light flicked on. Ava's room. And in the window, just for a second, a silhouette. Small shoulders. Holding a bear. Cole's breath hitched. She knew he was there. She'd turned on the light for him. That night, he slept in the cab of his truck again. Hadn't done that since his barracks days. Seat leaned back, one boot still on, engine off to stay unnoticed. He watched the house until the lights went out. And even after that, he stayed. Because something deep in his chest, something older than instinct, something wired into the bone, told him, she's not safe. The next morning, he made a quiet call. Sergeant Bennett, a buddy still in the reserves. Worked private security on the side. Knew how to track things without paper trails. "I'm not asking you to do anything illegal," Cole said. "I just need a background." "On who?" "Marissa's boyfriend." Bennett didn't ask why. Didn't need to. "I'll see what I can dig up." 2 days later, Bennett called back. He's been arrested twice. Public disturbance. 1 bar fight. Charges dropped both times. No priors before that, but he's known around town. Angry drunk, mostly. Anything with kids? Nothing reported. But Bennett paused. Your gut's probably right. Cole said nothing. Didn't have to. That evening, during their next supervised visit, Ava looked different. Same face. Same clothes. But different. Quieter. She kept picking at the strings on her jeans, tugging one until it snapped. They sat across from each other at a cheap plastic table while the caseworker scrolled through her phone. Cole waited until Ava's eyes met his. Then, quietly, did he touch you again? Ava glanced at the caseworker, then shook her head. No, she whispered. But he yelled. A lot. Cole leaned in just a fraction. What did he yell about? Me. Her voice cracked. He said I was spying. That I act weird when mommy's not home. That I look at him like I'm judging. Cole's hands tightened around the edge of the table. What did you say back? Ava's lip trembled. I didn't say anything. I just went to my room. But he followed me. He didn't come in. He just stood there. Like waiting. Her voice dropped even lower. He told Bear he'd rip his head off. When Cole dropped her back off that night, he didn't leave right away. He pulled around the corner. Parked. Waited. And sure enough, 10 minutes later, the boyfriend stepped out to smoke. Shirtless. Beer in hand. Laughing at something on his phone. Cole watched him from behind the wheel. Watched the way he paced on the porch. Like he owned it. Watched the way Marissa came outside, handed him something, and smiled like this was normal. Like none of it was broken. Like their daughter wasn't afraid. Cole didn't get out. Didn't move. He just memorized the man's walk. The tilt of his head. The way his boots scraped against the concrete. Every soldier knows this feeling. The cold before a storm. 3 nights later, Cole got another text from the unknown number. A short video. No sound. Just Ava, sitting alone in the kitchen. You could see the clock behind her. 11:23 p.m. She was drawing on a napkin with a Sharpie. Then a noise. She stiffened. A shadow passed behind the doorway. She reached for Bear. And the clip ended. Cole didn't show the court. Not yet. He was playing the long game. One slip from the boyfriend. One bruise too many. One threat caught on a voicemail and it would all come down. But Cole wasn't just collecting evidence. He was preparing to protect. He bought a new lockbox. Not for weapons. For the footage. He backed everything up again. Then gave one copy to Bennett. If anything happens to me, Cole said, give this to the press. Bennett didn't laugh. Didn't argue. He just nodded. You sure you don't want me to get involved? Cole shook his head. She has to be the one to tell it. That weekend, Ava came for a half-day visit. Still supervised. Still stiff. But brighter than before. She brought Bear. And the two sat together on the floor of Cole's apartment, coloring side by side. Cole cooked mac and cheese. No cameras. No questions. Just peace. And then, out of nowhere, Ava said, I think Mommy knows I'm hiding something. Cole turned from the stove. What do you mean? She was cleaning my room, and I think she found the charger. His blood went cold. Did she say anything? No, Ava whispered. But she didn't say good night either. Later, as she left, Ava looked up at him. Voice quiet, but solid. Do you think I'm lying? It nearly broke him. He kneeled down, took both her hands in his. Never, he said. You're the bravest kid I've ever met. She nodded, eyes filled with tears. Then she whispered, Can you braid my hair next time? It started with a drawer. Ava had been watching, waiting. One evening, while her mom was on the phone in the kitchen, half a glass of red wine in hand, pacing, distracted, Ava snuck into the hallway. Her room door was open, but her mom had left her purse in the master bedroom. Inside it was the charging cable, the GoPro charger. Ava grabbed it, quiet as a mouse, slipped it into her hoodie pocket. No one saw. No one called her name. But Bear saw, and Bear didn't snitch. She plugged the charger into the wall behind her toy chest and stuffed a towel in front of it to block the light. The GoPro had been dead for days. She wasn't sure it had saved anything. Wasn't even sure if it worked anymore. But she couldn't stop thinking about what her dad had said in the car. She has to be the one to tell it. So she charged it. Waited. And the next morning, before school, she opened the files. There were 8 saved clips. She only watched one. The camera had fallen sideways. It wasn't propped up right, so the angle was weird, pointed at the floor, tilted toward the hallway. But it caught everything. Her mom's boyfriend. Boots stomping into the room. His voice sharp, drunk, slurring, angry. Ava wasn't in frame, but her voice was soft, scared. You're not supposed to be in here when she's not home. The man barked something inaudible. A slam. Something crashing. Then footsteps. Closer. And his voice again. You think you're smart? Huh? Hiding S******. Looking at me like your deadbeat dad. Then Bear flew across the room. Literally, he landed on the floor in the frame. Limp. Face down. Ava sobbed. And the man said something no child should ever hear. Threats. Words that felt like punches. And then the sound of a door slamming. Clip-ins. Ava didn't cry. She didn't scream or panic. She sat on the carpet, cross-legged, breathing slow. Then she reached for Bear, picked him up, and said aloud, to no one, "It's okay. We got him now." At school that day, she asked to speak to the counselor. Again, the office staff was used to her requests. They thought she was just acting out. Too sensitive, too quiet. But when she pulled the GoPro from her backpack, wrapped in a t-shirt, the counselor stopped moving. "Ava, what's this?" "I recorded him." "You who?" She didn't say. Just opened the screen. Hit play. The counselor watched for maybe 15 seconds before standing up. She walked Ava to the nurse's office and said, "Stay here. Don't move. I'm calling Child Protective Services right now." Cole got the call at 1:38 p.m. Unknown number again. This time, a woman's voice. Calm, but serious. "Mr. Jennings, this is Allison Vega from Child Protective Services. I need you to meet me at Pine Hills Elementary right away. Your daughter is safe. She's with school staff. I'll explain when you arrive." That was all she needed to say. Cole left the mechanic shop without punching out, without saying a word. Threw on his jacket, grabbed his keys, drove like the world was on fire. He found Ava in the counselor's office, sipping apple juice, legs swinging off the edge of a too-tall chair. She looked up as he walked in, and her entire face softened. "Hi, Daddy." He crouched in front of her, touched her cheek. Her braid was messy, probably from recess, but she looked safe. "Whole. You okay?" She nodded, then whispered. I showed them the tape. The GoPro sat on the desk, connected to a laptop. Ms. Vega stood beside it, arms folded, face grim. She turned to Cole. "I've seen a lot in this job," she said quietly. "But that man, he has no business around children. Your daughter was incredibly smart and incredibly brave to do what she did." Cole nodded, trying to keep it together. "What happens now?" "I've already filed for emergency protective custody. Judge Myers will get the notice tonight. We'll request Ava be placed with you immediately, full custody pending investigation." Cole exhaled, but it wasn't relief. "Not yet. There's more footage," he said. "I have it backed up. I'll take every copy you have." That night, Ava came home. To his home. No supervision. No third party. No restrictions. Just her and Bear. And Cole. Back where she belonged. He made spaghetti for dinner, her favorite. Even let her pour in too much Parmesan, like she always did. They watched a movie on the couch, something animated, something loud and funny, but Cole barely registered it. He kept one arm around her shoulders the whole time, like if he let go for a second, this would vanish. At one point, she looked up at him. "Are they going to arrest him?" Cole hesitated. "Yes," he said. "They will. You promise." "I promise." A pause. Then, softer, "Will Mommy be mad at me?" His jaw clenched. "She might, but she'll know the truth. And that matters more than whether she's mad." Ava leaned into his chest. "She's not like she used to be," she said. "She lets him yell. She lets him say stuff. She didn't used to." Cole closed his eyes and held her tighter. The next morning, the headline was already circulating online. 8-year-old secretly records alleged abuse by mother's boyfriend. Authorities investigating The article didn't name Ava or Cole, but it was enough. People in town were already whispering, talking. One news van showed up outside the school. Cole kept Ava home that day. He spent the morning filing the rest of the footage with the CPS investigator, then sat down and made a list of everything he'd need for the next custody hearing. He wasn't just fighting for time anymore. He was fighting for permanence. That night, while Ava slept curled up in her blanket fort, Cole stood by the window, watching the parking lot below. It was quiet, for now, but he knew men like the boyfriend. Men who didn't go away quietly. So he stayed up, gun locked, phone charged, bear tucked safely under Ava's arm, just in case. At 2:11 a.m., headlights flashed across the blinds. A black F-150 crept into the lot. Slow, idle growling. It didn't park, just rolled through. Once, then twice, then disappeared. Cole never moved from the window. He didn't call the cops, didn't run outside. He just memorized the taillights, the sound of the muffler, the dent in the rear quarter panel. He was watching, and he wanted the boyfriend to know that he was too. The footage should have been enough. Cole thought that. Ava thought that. Any decent human being would think that. But the system? The system blinked and buried it. 3 days after Ava handed over the GoPro and Cole submitted his backups to Child Protective Services, they were supposed to have a follow-up hearing. Cole showed up an hour early, sat outside courtroom 2C with a black folder tucked under his arm and Ava's backpack resting next to him on the bench. Inside the folder, USB copies, printed stills from the footage, his military service letters, Ava's school reports, a statement from the counselor. He came prepared. This time, they were ready. But the judge never saw it. Camille Thomas, their assigned CPS liaison, didn't show up to the hearing. Neither did the footage. Not in the judge's hands. Not on the docket. Not even listed in the official evidence summary. When Judge Myers asked about the abuse claim and the submitted video, the county's attorney gave a flat answer. We're still reviewing the materials. They were not submitted to our office within the expected time frame. Cole felt like the floor dropped out from under him. He stood. Your Honor, he said, trying to stay level. I handed the video over myself. 3 days ago, I gave backups. I watched the CPS investigator confirm receipt. The judge raised a brow. And where is the investigator today? Silence. The county rep checked her phone. We've been informed Ms. Thomas is on extended leave, she muttered. Medical. As of yesterday. Cole stared at her. Medical leave? She hadn't said anything during their last conversation. Just promised they were moving fast. And now gone. Back in the hallway, he paced. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Every face looked past him, not at him. It was like he didn't exist. Just another dad with problems. Just another soldier with baggage. He called Camille Thomas's work phone, straight to voicemail. Then he called CPS headquarters. They told him someone else would be in touch as soon as possible. But no one did. That night, after Ava fell asleep watching cartoons, Cole pulled his laptop out and logged into the secure cloud server. Everything was still there, uncorrupted, untouched, but unacknowledged. The court system hadn't requested it. The county hadn't opened it. And no one had followed up. He stared at the screen, watching Ava's face freeze on a paused frame, wide-eyed, trying to act brave, clutching Bear in her lap while a man screamed off camera. Cole exhaled through his nose. Steady, low, controlled. Ava's bravery had been real. And the adults failed her anyway. The next morning, he took action. No more waiting for the system. He printed copies of every still frame that showed the boyfriend's boots, face, posture. Burned 3 more USBs with the full videos. Filed everything in 3 manila envelopes. One went to the school counselor. One to Bennett, sealed in a fireproof bag. And one, the most important, went straight to a mailbox. Addressed to Honorable Allison Myers Chambers. Confidential. Hand delivery only. He didn't care about chain of command anymore. Let them call it unorthodox. Let them call it hearsay. He wasn't doing this to win a case. He was doing it to save a kid. The following day, Cole picked Ava up from school. She came out with her hair braided, unevenly, like she'd done it herself, and a tiny scrape across her cheekbone. He crouched beside her as she buckled into the truck. "What happened?" he asked, touching her chin gently. She shrugged. "Tripped on the playground." But her eyes flicked away when she said it. Not because she was lying, but because she knew he knew. She was protecting someone, not herself. Maybe a friend. Maybe even her mom. Kids do that, even after they're hurt. That night, Cole sat with Bennett on the tailgate of the truck in his apartment's parking lot. The envelope sat between them like a loaded pistol. "You're sure you want me to hold this?" Bennett asked. "You think it's going to come to that?" Cole didn't answer right away. Then finally, the truth sitting in a box somewhere, waiting to get lost. "If they don't want to see it, we make it impossible not to." "You going public?" "Not yet." "What's the move?" "I show the judge anyway. In person. No attorneys. No files lost in inboxes. And if she throws it out?" Cole looked up at the stars, then back at the USB. "I show the world." 2 mornings later, the front page of the County Herald featured a quiet article. CPS investigator placed on leave over mishandled abuse footage. No names. No details. But it was enough. Someone was leaking. Someone on the inside knew what was going on and wasn't staying silent anymore. That same morning, Cole received a call from an unfamiliar number. This one wasn't a blocked line. No burner. Judge Meyer's clerk. "Mr. Jennings, the judge would like to schedule a private review of your submitted material. Chambers. No attorneys. Just you and her. Tomorrow. 8 a.m. Be prompt." He didn't sleep that night. He sat by Ava's door with the drive in his hand and the old GoPro beside him. It had a scratch across the lens now. A crack along the casing. But it had worked. It had done its job. The silent little eye that remembered everything. At 7:59 a.m., Cole stood outside the judge's chambers. He knocked once. The door opened. Judge Myers sat behind a modest desk. No robe. No formality. "Sit down," she said. He handed her the USB. She plugged it in herself. "Watch the clip. All of it. No questions. No interruptions. Just the raw footage." Ava's voice. Her tears. The boyfriend's threats. The shadow in the hallway. When the screen went dark, she sat still for several long seconds. Then looked up at Cole. Voice low. Controlled. "You understand, if this footage is authenticated and the CPS mishandling verified, we may be dealing with multiple investigations, not just your custody hearing." Cole nodded. "I'm not looking for revenge, ma'am. I just want my daughter safe. And if the mother is found complicit, I still want my daughter safe." She didn't smile, but her eyes changed, softened. For the first time since this war began, she believed him. "Thank you, Sergeant," she said. "You may go." He stood, saluted, then left. Outside, in the lobby, Ava sat quietly with Bear in her lap. She looked up when she saw him and whispered, "Did you show her?" Cole crouched. "Yeah, I showed her." A pause. "What did she say?" He smiled, just barely. "She said thank you." Ava blinked. "For what?" "For being brave," he said. And then, for the first time in weeks, they both laughed. Quiet, but real. There was no legal team behind him. No press. No advocates. No nonprofit lawyers looking to make a name off the case. Just Cole. A father. A staff sergeant with 2 deployments under his belt and a custody order in one hand and a hard drive in the other. The county courthouse was colder in the mornings. Too much tile. Too much echo. Too much indifference. He stood in line behind a woman arguing about a traffic ticket and a man filing for a restraining order against his cousin. No one looked at each other. No one cared what brought you there. Pain was just paperwork. When he reached the front, the clerk didn't even glance up. Form. He slid it forward. Motion to reopen custody hearing. Attached. Video evidence, school documentation, witness statements. The clerk finally looked up. "You don't have an attorney?" "No." "You sure you want to proceed without one?" "I'm sure." She stamped the paper. "You'll be notified." That was it. No oath. No handshake. No moment of justice swelling from the rafters. Just ink on a page, sliding through a system built to stall. That night, Cole worked a double shift at the garage. Alternator swap, tire rotation, oil leak, same gloves, same sweat, same ache in his shoulders. But his mind wasn't on the job. It was on Ava. She'd asked that morning if she could bring Bear to school in her backpack. He said yes. She told him she felt better with Bear watching things. He told her he felt the same way. While he tightened bolts, he replayed the courtroom footage in his mind. Judge Myers hadn't ruled yet, but she'd seen the truth. And truth was the one thing he still had on his side. Back at the apartment, Ava was asleep in her bed with a flashlight still on. She'd fallen asleep reading. Her sketchpad was open beside her, a drawing of Cole with his arms around her and Bear. He stood in the doorway for a long moment, watching, remembering. The next day, he filed a public record request. He wanted the documents on his CPS case, everything submitted, received, timestamped. The clerk at the county building frowned. "You're listed as a respondent, not the complainant." "I'm the father," Cole said calmly. "I understand, but the records are still sealed unless the investigation. I'm requesting my own records. Not hers. Not the complainant's. Just what I submitted." The woman hesitated. Cole didn't flinch. "I'll wait," he said. It took 45 minutes. She returned with a manila folder thin. Too thin. Cole opened it at the counter. His video was missing. That night, he sat with Bennett again, same tailgate, same spot. He laid out the printouts. No mention of his footage. No entry of Ava's report. No school counselor's statement. Bennett cursed under his breath. "They're erasing it." "Not anymore," Cole said. He opened a fresh folder, thicker. Inside, notarized copies. Sworn affidavits. Printed email receipts. A fresh affidavit from Ava's school counselor, sealed and signed that morning. "They delete it again," he said. "We make it national." Bennett leaned back. "You really ready to burn the whole house down?" Cole looked at him, steady. "If it gets her out of the fire?" "Yeah." A week passed. No response from the judge's office. But word spread. Whispers. People at the school started treating Ava different, careful, gentle. One of the teachers pulled Cole aside at pickup. "She ever talk about what happened?" Cole shook his head. "She doesn't have to," the teacher said quietly. "We believe her." At night, Ava started drawing more. Not just cartoons. Scenes. Snapshots. Her room. Her mom's boyfriend standing in the doorway. A shadow on the wall. Bear on the bed. In each picture, she drew herself smaller. Cole noticed it, but didn't comment. Until one night she handed him a drawing. It was her and Cole, side by side. Same height. Same size. No shadows. She looked up at him. "I made me bigger." He smiled. "You're already bigger than most grown-ups." The call came on a Wednesday afternoon. Court date scheduled. Reopening granted. 3 days from now. Judge Myers would review everything formally this time. And Ava? She would be allowed to testify. Privately. If she chose to. Cole didn't pressure her. Didn't ask. Just told her, "You get to decide." That night, she set her fork down at dinner and said, "I want to tell the truth out loud." Cole swallowed hard. "Then I'll be right outside the room when you do." The next day, someone keyed his truck. Deep. Ugly. Crude slashes down the driver's side door. Underneath the scratches, 3 letters carved. Lie not, liar. Not scum. Just lie. Like someone didn't believe him. Or didn't want anyone else to. He didn't call it in. Didn't touch it. Just left it there. Parked right outside the courthouse. So when Ava stepped out for her hearing, the word would still be there. Visible. And false. That night, Ava woke up screaming. Cole was at her bedside before she could say a word. "It's okay," he said. "You're safe." She didn't answer. Just clung to him. After she calmed down, she asked, "Do you think people are scared of me now? Because I told?" Cole shook his head. "No. But maybe some people are scared of what happens when you're brave." Then, softly, "That's how you know you're doing the right thing." Cole stood in the hallway outside courtroom 4A, his tie slightly crooked, hands tied at his sides. Ava was behind that thick wooden door, sitting alone in the judge's private chambers, just her, Bear in her lap, and Judge Allison Myers across the desk. No lawyers. No cameras. No cross-examinations. Just Ava, telling the truth. In her own words. He hadn't heard the specifics of what she planned to say. Didn't ask her to rehearse. Didn't script anything. He'd only said one thing that morning, while braiding her hair. You say what's real. That's all that matters. She had looked up at him in the mirror. Even if they don't believe me? He met her eyes. They will. The courtroom was quiet when they called him in. No audience today. Closed hearing. Just the judge, the county attorney, Marissa and her lawyer, and Cole, now seated across the aisle from the woman who used to be his wife. Marissa looked different. Paler. Her makeup was heavier than usual, but it didn't cover the tightness in her jaw. She clutched a tissue she hadn't used yet. Her boyfriend wasn't with her. Cole didn't look at her. Not out of anger. Out of focus. All he could think about was Ava. Alone in that room. Speaking. Not because she wanted to, but because she had to. Judge Myers entered a few minutes later. No robe again. Just a navy suit and those same cold, clear eyes that missed nothing. She sat, folded her hands, and took a long breath before speaking. I've reviewed the new materials submitted by Mr. Jennings, including the video evidence, school documentation, and sworn affidavits. She glanced at the county attorney. I've also reviewed the absence of certain records from the CPS case file, which now appears to be under internal investigation. Then she looked at Cole. Your daughter, Ava, voluntarily spoke to me in chambers this morning. She answered every question with clarity. No coaching. No hesitation. Cole didn't move, but his heart pounded like a drum inside his chest. Judge Myers turned to Marissa. Mrs. Jennings, I want to give you a chance to respond to the new testimony and material. Would you like to speak? Marissa's lawyer leaned toward her, whispering rapidly. She hesitated, just long enough for everyone to feel the tension, then nodded. She stood, voice trembling. I never saw him hurt her, she said. I swear. I thought he was strict, maybe. Stern, but never violent. She looked directly at the judge now. Not at Cole. Never at Cole. I didn't know about the recordings. I didn't know she was scared. I didn't know what he was doing when I wasn't home. Her voice cracked. I didn't want to know. She sat back down. Cole didn't flinch. Didn't react. Because deep down, he already knew. She hadn't lied because she hated him. She lied because she was afraid of what believing the truth would mean about herself. Judge Myers tapped her pen against her notepad. Once. Twice. Then stopped. This case is no longer about custody. It's about accountability. She looked between them, two people who once built a life together, now separated by silence. I am awarding Mr. Cole Jennings full temporary custody of Ava Jennings, effective immediately. No overnight visits will be granted to Mrs. Marissa Jennings until the ongoing investigation concludes. Visitation will be supervised only, and at the discretion of the Department of Family Services. Marissa's lawyer objected. The judge didn't blink. Furthermore, she continued, I am formally submitting all video evidence and supporting materials to the district attorney's office for further review regarding possible charges. Now Marissa's eyes filled, not with tears, with shock, with something breaking. I want to be clear, Judge Myers said, her voice sharpening. Ava was not coached. She was not manipulated. She was not coerced. She protected herself when adults failed to. She turned to Cole, and she's lucky she had one who didn't. The gavel fell. It sounded softer than Cole expected, but heavier, like it was closing a door that had needed closing for a long time. Outside, Ava sat on a bench beside a bailiff, swinging her legs. She saw Cole, jumped down, ran to him. He dropped to one knee as she threw her arms around him. You were so brave, he whispered. So brave. She didn't cry, just buried her face in his jacket. Then looked up. Do we get to go home now? He smiled, a real one. Yeah, baby. We do. As they walked through the lobby, past the security gates, past the same people who never looked up before. Something changed. People moved aside. Not because of Cole's uniform. Because of Ava. They'd seen her picture in the paper now. They knew. This little girl had faced a monster and won. And the man beside her? He hadn't raised his voice, hadn't thrown punches. He'd done what soldiers are trained to do when the shooting starts: hold the line. That evening, back at their apartment, Cole made grilled cheese while Ava danced around the living room, music playing low from the speaker. No court order. No time limit. No caseworker counting the minutes. Just them. Just home. After dinner, Ava pulled Bear from the bookshelf and hugged him tight. Then she looked up at Cole. "You think Mommy's mad at me?" He crouched beside her. "I think Mommy's going to be sad for a while." Ava thought about that, then nodded. "She made a lot of bad choices." "Yeah," Cole said. "But you didn't." She smiled soft, then held up Bear. "You think he needs a bath?" Cole saw him before the hearing even ended, standing alone at the far end of the courthouse hallway, just outside the men's room, half lit by a flickering fluorescent light. Black hoodie, baggy jeans, cheap boots with salt scuffs across the toes. The boyfriend, the man from the footage, the man Ava had feared in silence. He wasn't supposed to be here. No charges had been filed yet, but an official summons was coming. And even before that, he was warned, told not to approach Ava, not to come near Cole, not to show up at the courthouse. But he was here anyway, waiting, watching. Cole stepped out of courtroom 4A with Ava's hand in his. She didn't see him. Not yet. She was too busy telling him about the school play they were rehearsing. Something about a robot who learns how to sing. He nodded, smiled, let her talk. Her voice was life. They rounded the corner toward the exit, and that's when Cole's eyes locked onto him. The boyfriend didn't move, didn't flinch, didn't blink, just stood there, leaning one shoulder against the wall like he was bored. But Cole knew the stance. Predator, waiting for permission. He turned Ava gently toward the clerk's office. "Sweetheart, can you go give your forms to the lady at the counter? I'll be right here." She nodded and skipped away without protest. He waited until she was out of earshot, then walked. Slow, deliberate. Each boot step echoed down the hallway. He didn't puff up, didn't make a scene, just moved forward, the way you walk through smoke when you've already been burned. The boyfriend didn't look away, didn't speak, until Cole was 10 feet away. Then, like a flick of venom, "Nice showing there, Sarge." Cole didn't stop, didn't blink. He closed the distance until only 2 feet of stale air separated them. The boyfriend grinned yellow teeth, a smear of sweat on his brow. He tried to smirk, but there was something behind it now. Something that wasn't there the first time. Fear. Not panic. Not yet. But the beginning of recognition that the man in front of him wasn't just another ex-husband. Cole didn't speak. Not at first. He just looked at him. Longer than most men can stand. Measured. Heavy. Quiet. Then, voice low enough to get under skin. "You come near her again, and I won't call the cops." The boyfriend tilted his head, false bravado kicking in. "Is that a threat?" Cole didn't answer. Didn't smile. He just leaned in, so close the man had to shift his weight. "No. That's a statement of consequence. Learn the difference." The boyfriend opened his mouth, then closed it. Cole stepped back, still calm, then turned his back to him. Walked away. Not rushed, not flinching. He trusted that man wouldn't follow. Because for the first time, he'd seen what Cole was really capable of when it came to protecting Ava. Outside, Ava was waiting by the truck. "Where'd you go?" she asked, climbing into the passenger seat. "Just had to check something." She buckled in. "Can we get tacos?" Cole smiled. "Yeah, we've earned it." That night, after Ava fell asleep with Bear tucked beneath her chin, Cole stepped out onto the balcony and sat with a notepad on his lap. He wrote down every detail of the hallway encounter. Time, position, words spoken, angle of the security camera overhead. Everything. Then he pulled out his phone and sent a message to Judge Meyer's clerk. FYI. Subject made unauthorized appearance at courthouse. No contact with child. Verbal exchange with me. Details attached. Video likely on hallway cam 4B. He didn't expect a reply. Didn't need one. He was documenting now. Not for court. For war. The next morning, he found his truck keyed again. This time deeper. Messier. Jagged letters scraped across the door. Stolen kid, he didn't curse, didn't call the police, just pulled out his phone, snapped a photo, filed it, then walked Ava to school like nothing had happened. But she noticed. She always noticed. "Daddy," she said, that afternoon, "why are people so mad at you now?" He looked at her in the rear view. "Because I didn't let them scare me." Ava nodded. Then, after a pause, "Good." That evening, as the sun dipped below the rooftops and painted the sky in fire orange, Cole opened his laptop and reviewed the footage again. Not because he needed to, because he wanted to remember. To remind himself why he'd taken the hits, why he'd lost sleep, why he'd stood in court alone with no legal shield but the truth. He paused on a single frame. Ava, sitting on the edge of her bed, holding Bear like a shield. Eyes forward, facing the camera, facing everything. She wasn't broken. She was built different. Later, as he tucked her in, she looked up at him with sleepy eyes. "Is it over now?" He brushed her hair back from her forehead. "Almost. But he's still mad, right?" "Probably. But you're not scared?" He shook his head. "No, because you're a Marine?" He smiled. "No, because I'm your dad." Cole didn't expect the neighbor to have a camera. He didn't expect anything from that neighborhood anymore. Not trust. Not help. Not even eye contact. So when Mrs. Delgado, the quiet woman across the street with plastic flamingos in her yard, knocked on his apartment door holding a flash drive, he thought maybe it was a mistake. She didn't smile when he opened the door. Just said, "My son set this up months ago. Security thing. Captures our whole porch, and most of hers." She meant Marissa's porch. Ava's old front door. "I saw your daughter out there one night. Thought maybe you'd want it." Then she handed him the flash drive, turned, and walked away. No lecture. No commentary. No strings. Just truth. Delivered plain. Cole plugged it into his laptop and opened the files. 10-second clips. Dozens of them. Each one time-stamped, neatly cataloged by the camera's software. He clicked one at random, dated 2 weeks back. The screen blinked to life. Night. Porch light on. Ava, standing alone outside Marissa's front door. Barefoot. Hoodie zipped up. One arm hugging Bear. The other rubbing her eyes. She knocks softly. No answer. She tries the doorknob. Locked. She turns around. Sits down on the porch step. Pulls her knees to her chest. 10 seconds. Next clip. Still sitting. Still alone. Next. The door opens. A man's shadow. Unmistakable. He grabs her by the arm. Rough. Quick. Drags her inside. Ava doesn't scream. But her face, that moment, it flickers in the frame before she disappears through the door. Pure terror. Cole watched it 3 times before closing the lid. No rage this time. No panic. Just clarity. The next morning, he delivered it directly to the district attorney's office. No appointment. No attorney. Just walked it in, placed it on the front desk, and said, "This shows the moment she was dragged back inside. Without consent. Without care. You want to wait until she ends up in a hospital? Be my guest." He turned. Left. Didn't wait for a reaction. He didn't need their permission anymore. An hour later, his phone rang. Unknown number. He picked up. "Mr. Jennings, this is ADA Marisol Keene. We've reviewed the security footage. We'll be issuing a protection order against Marissa Jennings' partner within the hour. I've escalated it for potential charges." Cole didn't smile. Didn't sigh in relief. He just said, "Good," and hung up. That afternoon, Ava sat on the apartment floor drawing another picture, this one of their apartment. Her, Cole, Bear, and the neighbor's house with a little "thank you" flag on the door. When she showed him, he blinked. "Is that Mrs. Delgado's place?" "Yep." "Why the flag?" "She helped," Ava said. "So I wanted to say thank you." Then she added, "We should get her cookies." Cole nodded. "We will." The next morning, Cole received a court summons. This one was different. Not a custody hearing. A criminal one. Against Marissa's boyfriend. Endangering a minor. Unlawful restraint. Child neglect. Ava would not be called to testify. The footage was enough. But Cole had to appear. So did Marissa. The courthouse felt different this time. Not colder. Not heavier. Quieter. Like the building itself had run out of excuses. Like it had finally started listening. In the gallery, Cole sat in the front row in plain clothes. Jeans, a collared shirt, boots laced tight. Marissa entered through the side. She looked 10 years older. No makeup. No lawyer beside her, just a blank stare and a purse clutched in both hands. When the boyfriend entered, the room shifted. He wore a wrinkled polo. No belt. Stubble on his jawline. Starting. He saw Cole. Flinched. Then looked away. Cole never broke eye contact. Not for a second. The prosecutor played the porch video on the screen for everyone to see. No sound. No edits. Just that door. That man. That little girl clutching her bear. Being pulled inside like trash. When the screen went dark, the silence was thunderous. The judge, not Myers this time, sat back and simply said, "Bail denied." Later, in the hallway, Cole waited for Marissa to walk by. He didn't want a scene. Didn't want an apology. But when she passed him, eyes low, shoulders hunched, she stopped. Didn't look at him. Just whispered, "I let her down." Cole stared straight ahead. Then replied, "She gave you the chance to fix it. And you looked away. No venom. Just fact." She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just walked. Like someone who finally saw the cliff beneath their feet. Back home, Ava sat at the kitchen counter with a glass of chocolate milk and a peanut butter sandwich cut into stars. She looked up when Cole walked in. "Is it over?" He nodded. "For now." Her eyes flicked to the side. "I saw Mommy on TV." Cole paused. She didn't look happy. "No," he said quietly. She didn't. Ava was quiet for a while. Then, "Do you think she still loves me?" He knelt beside her. "I think she always did. But she stopped protecting you. And love without protection isn't love at all." She nodded, then climbed into his lap. They sat like that for a long time. No music. No cartoons. Just quiet. And safety. The stage wasn't big. Just a cafeteria platform, decorated with glittery stars and hand-painted cardboard moons. Rows of plastic chairs lined the floor, filled with parents, teachers, and kids swinging their feet and sipping juice boxes. Ava stood behind the microphone, dress ironed, shoes too tight, hair braided in two perfect ropes. She didn't fidget. She didn't scan the crowd. She just looked straight ahead, not into the faces, but beyond them. Like she was singing to a place deeper than the room could hold. Cole sat in the second row. No uniform. No medals. Just a flannel shirt and a steady heart. His hands rested on his knees, calloused and still, the same hands that had dug trenches, changed diapers, carried her through courtrooms and nightmares. The lights dimmed. A single piano note rang out. Ava took a breath, then sang. It wasn't loud. It wasn't polished. But it was pure. A child's voice, shaking but certain, rising up through a cafeteria that once felt too big, too foreign, too dangerous. Each word carved from something she never asked for, but owned now. She didn't sing like a victim. She sang like someone who had survived. Afterward, there was no applause in Cole's chest, just something heavier than sound. Pride. Not the kind you show. The kind that burns slow and deep, like coals in your ribs. When she walked off the stage, bear in her hand and a ribbon pinned to her dress, she came straight to him. "I didn't mess up," she said. He crouched to eye level. "You didn't just sing," he whispered. "You told the world you're still standing." She grinned, then tugged his sleeve. "Can we go to the park?" They walked there in silence, hand in hand. The sky was painted with gold streaks and low-hanging clouds. Ava climbed the jungle gym. Cole sat on a bench, watching her silhouette dance against the setting sun. His phone buzzed. A new message. From Camille Thomas, the CPS investigator who'd vanished during the court hearings. He hadn't heard from her in weeks. The message read, "Still can't talk officially, but I just wanted you to know." Ava's video? It's being used now. For training. For policy reform. For real change. Another message followed. "Tell her thank you. For being braver than the rest of us." Later that night, Ava pulled out the old GoPro from a shoebox under her bed. She held it in both hands, quiet. "Does it still work?" she asked. "Yeah," Cole said. "Still works." She turned it over, stared at it. then handed it to him. Can you erase it? He paused. You sure? She nodded. We don't need it anymore. Cole plugged it into the laptop. The folders loaded slowly. One by one, he watched each file fade from the screen, the hallway, the porch, the silence, the scream that never came. Delete, delete, delete. Gone. The past didn't vanish, but it no longer owned them. Outside, the streetlights flickered on. In the quiet, Cole stood on the balcony, sipping coffee from his dented steel mug, the one he carried through 2 deployments and a courtroom war. He heard Ava humming from inside. Not a sad tune, not nervous, just joy. The natural sound of a child whose voice had finally been heard. He looked out at the street, calm, still. No shadows, no trucks circling the lot, no knocks at the door, just peace. Down below, an old neighbor stepped onto her porch and gave Cole a nod. He returned it. No words. Just that silent exchange between 2 people who knew something the world had almost missed. Inside, Ava held Bear close and looked up from her blanket fort. Hey, Daddy. Yeah. She raised her hand in a slow, careful salute. He blinked, then stood, shoulders square, and returned it. Silent, solid, because sometimes the only way to honor what was survived is to say nothing at all. Wherever you're watching from, city or country, drop it in the comments. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs it. Like the video to show support for brave kids like Ava. And subscribe if you want more true, powerful stories like this one. We'll keep telling them until the silence breaks.